So just a few weeks ago, Disneyland Resort kicked off the Disney 100 Years of Wonder celebration, and a bulk of the celebration is new nighttime spectaculars at both Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure. And I have, as we've done many videos and reviews over the last several weeks, there is a comment that keeps coming up. I think I've even seen it on our social media where people keep asking, where is the honest review of Wondrous Journeys and World of Color 1? And quite frankly, I'm tired of being asked. So we're going to finally do it. Let's review the Disney 100 Years of Wonder nighttime spectaculars at the Disneyland Resort. All right, we're going to start with World of Color 1. And what we're doing in this case, a little different from our usual honest reviews, because nighttime shows are long enough as it is, and they're very visual. I think it's best if we just kind of watch along. So you're going to see the video in this video without audio. Of course, you're always free to queue up the corresponding video from our site if you do want to watch along with audio, but nonetheless, that's what we're going to do. So we'll watch along, and I'll talk about things as the show progresses, things you should notice, where inspiration for certain things came from, onward, and etc. So, Jake, if you're ready back there, we're going to start World of Color 1, is that right? Yep. Cool. World of Color 1, the latest version of the Lagoon show at California Adventure. Paradise Gardens Park. That's a beautiful logo. That's not part of the show. Now we're at the show. So a little fun fact about me, World of Color is my favorite nighttime show in any Disney park anywhere. In particular, the original version, which has had several altered versions over time. There's been different encores and scenes switched out here and there, but I've liked all of them very much. There's a little bit of Walt Disney. So this echoes a little bit of what was essentially the second new World of Color show, which was World of Color Celebrate, which was created for the 60th anniversary, the Diamond Celebration at Disneyland Resort. That show did not go over well. People did not like that show very much. I wasn't a big fan either. It had its moments. There were some cool tech updates, but it didn't really land. And I think this one seems to be performing better with guests. One thing I'll say is I know they did original music for this, and I'm always happy when they do original music. I don't know that I love this theme song. It doesn't make a connection with me, and we're going to watch Wondrous Journeys. I think It's Wondrous song is really catchy and grabs people and does a perfect job getting people into that show. This song, I don't think you can remember anything about this song after you see this show the first time. I don't think it sticks with people. But what I think makes World of Color so special, what I think is so great about it is not only did they look at, oh, you see this incredible fountain technology. In particular, the Bellagio was the inspiration in Vegas. But then they looked at it like, how do you make that a show? And the answer was, in sort of in its infancy at that time, modern LED technology and, all these other things they could play with. Could you take the Bellagio fountain tech and add all this in and make a show, a coherent show around it? And they did. And what I thought was really thoughtful, again, first time they'd ever done this before, they were able to make, using these fountains, they're able to make all these different objects and things that resonate with each scene of the show, right? Just think about that opening sequence of the original World of Color, right? Red Summer Rose, and you see the red fountains make a rose shape in the middle of the lagoon, those kind of things. And that's what I love about World of Color is it's sort of abstract, and you have to really look and think about what you're seeing. And when you see the intent of the creators, there's some real magical moments in there. So Pocahontas, obviously a really important part of the original show. Colors of the Wind, a great segment. This is a nice, different take on it. I'll also comment, so this was recorded on the first night. There were some things don't work on some nights. Some nights, it's a very complicated show. And so some nights you may not really have lasers. Some nights you might be missing fire. Sometimes other little effects don't work. So when everything completely works, it is unreal. And so in this sequence, the combination of effects here, right? And talk about that abstract, you have to think, right, in a circle. And then, of course, the Pixar pal around, the fun wheel, whatever you want to call it, the circle of light happened on there in synchronicity with that. But one thing I always say is video never does World of Color justice. And I honestly don't even really like to stand this far back. In order to film the full breadth of the show, we kind of have to be back here. My favorite is, and you will get wet, but to go to the absolute bottom of the boardwalk and stand up against the show, you'll get soaked, but it's beautiful, it's awe-inspiring, I don't care how wet. I've gotten actually accidentally shot by one of the fountains, and I still didn't care at the end because I love the show that much, and that's where I want to see it from. So as far as narrative, the show doesn't really necessarily have one. I know that what the press release will tell you, it's about how one person can make a difference, and the idea is Walt Disney was one person, and look what he did. Look at the legacy of his company after 100 years. But then also tying that into Disney characters, how one character in a story can make a difference. It's not the strongest idea. Maybe it could be, but I don't know that the show captures that. That being said, I think these individual segments are very strong. I think they work really well for each film. And, there's some franchises in recent years that you sort of feel are shoved down your throat. Encanto, as of late, is one of those. And so there's a couple of these where I came in and I really want to dislike the segment. But as you can see, there's a lot of really great stuff going on here. I love the lighting on the fun wheel, pal around, whatever you want to call it. I love they're utilizing what was introduced for World of Color Celebrate, all those individual lights up on the Incredicoaster. Funny enough, because of those, that's why we have the points of light, or whatever you want to call them, on Spaceship Earth at Epcot. When they were trying to find a solution to light that for the 50th, they ended up remembering, oh, we did those lights on Incredicoaster, why don't we use those? But look at this, you have these fireworks going off. They're not only projected fireworks, but fireworks in the lights on the Incredicoaster and on the wheel. It's good stuff. And it was a good song choice too, right? I'm glad they didn't do Bruno or Family Madrigal. There you see it. Oh, it's trying to work, or that, or our video isn't capturing. There is an Eiffel Tower made of lasers that's in that center fountain there. It works better now. I've seen it since. It looks good. Ratatouille doesn't get a lot of love in nighttime shows, so this is great. And they captured all this, the abstract thoughts, what goes on inside Remy's head when he tries food, and it works really well here because it's lasers, and so the lasers really pop. And in a lot of ways, the same way they do in the movie, right? Because it's a black background with these very vibrant colors. So they did a nice job translating that to a fountain show. And then we watch Remy almost get murdered here. He gets chased across. You see the fountains go. And probably one of the more sensible uses of the fire effect, right? Because we're in the kitchen. A little hard to see here, but essentially the entire platform has become the pot that he's throwing stuff into. So you see him running across, and there's sort of, you can kind of see it, there's kind of a bowl shape going across the whole bottom, the fountain bed there, the platform. But we definitely need more Ratatouille in nighttime shows. The Disneyland Paris, what's the word I'm looking for? Their Independence Day. I'm trying to think of the name. Bastille Day. We were there for Bastille Day. They did we have a video here on the channel you can watch. They did an amazing fireworks show using music from French Disney movies, and Ratatouille as a set. The whole show is unbelievable. So the first time I saw this show, I saw this with a couple people who are musicians, and this sequence really spoke to them, and they felt that it was a pretty accurate representation of the way some musicians see music in their heads, which I know is part of the Soul movie, but again, captured really well in the Fountain Show. And this is going to be one of those World of Color segments where we just, a lot of quick flashing lights, right? The original show, the Never Had a Friend Like Me Genie sequence, is that moment sort of mid-show where we kick things up a notch, do a lot of fast, quick lighting, and really try to wow the audience. In the Christmas version of World of Color, Season of Light, there is that fantastic segment where Goofy is plugging in Christmas lights and everything's going wrong, and it ends up being Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and it's very much like this with a lot of crazy, fast, strobe lighting going on. And you have the lights in the viewing area are going, the strobes and spots up on the lighting towers, the Incredicoaster, everything. Just playing with everything they've got right now. But that does allude to some pacing problems in the show, right? Where you don't want to show all your tricks early on, and we've already seen the fire. We've seen kind of the full breadth of the lighting, what you can do. There's not a lot of tricks left up the sleeve at this point, and we still have a fair amount of show left to go. So again, as individual segments, they work really well. Maybe the way they're laid out in this show, the show order and the pacing, maybe not perfect. But now we take things down a notch with the Remember Me from Coco. I don't have much to say about this part. It's you want to strike an emotional chord with people, and it does. And there's some really great, outstanding Coco sequences in nighttime shows. Here's a little animation. The first time we saw this animation in a nighttime show was Believe Sea of Dreams, Pepita and Dante flying across. We have an honest review and video of that as well, the Disney Sea show right here on the channel. But again, great Coco sequences. In Believe has a great one where they actually do the Marigold Bridge across Mediterranean Harbor. And then even Harmonious. Harmonious, not my favorite show. I happen to really like the Coco sequence. Now, this isn't the end of the show. Even though the theme song has come back, this isn't the end of the show. We just needed to find a way to coherently transition somehow from animated films to Star Wars. Why is Star Wars in this? I don't know. But it's the segment has its moments. It has its moments. And of course, the red and green lightsabers made of fountains, one of those moments. We've got laser blasts represented as blasts of light, ships flying by. I do like that they didn't use any movie, none of these are movie clips. If you look real close, these are original illustrations they did of scenes from the movie. So there was an effort to do something different, to not just take movie clips and maybe to make that transition less harsh, right? We've gone from a number of animated films into a live action, and so maybe it's best to do this sort of illustrated version so it's not so harsh on people. It's a good segment. It's captivating. It's not my favorite of the show, but it's hard not to get excited by the Star Wars theme song. That score in a nighttime show. It's very hard to not be into it. But I think we've recapped the original trilogy. And now we're going to transition into the newer trilogy. And there's a Baby Yoda, Grogu appearance for a brief moment. Gets a big crowd reaction. I mean, while this is still rolling on, could I just say why isn't there more of a Mandalorian presence in the park yet, right? Why don't we have a Star Tours segment? Why isn't a ride in development? I think the Mandalorian has proven it's going to stand the test of time. It's beloved. It's probably time. And somehow we have gone from Star Wars to The Lion King. I have no idea how, but I think Lion King is, I mean, it's a hard movie to beat. It's probably the best movie they've ever done. And it is begging to be used more in nighttime shows. The music is so powerful. And you're going to see, this is my favorite segment of the whole World of Color 1 show. Just because I feel like I've waited my whole life for a really great Lion King nighttime show sequence. And in particular to the music they chose here. Again, I don't think the lasers were working this night, so what's really cool is the Mufasa in the sky made of lasers appears sort of in that mess of fountains you're seeing in the middle. He actually will appear, and it's a great moment. Yeah, I don't think it's working here. And here we go. Now we're going to pick up the show a little bit. But again, what about this? I mean, I guess I get it. Simba, has the ability to make change, but I don't know. At no point do I feel like the show really gets its point across. And that's why I think the ending, they had to sort of hit you over the head with it again. We'll get to that. But this is, yeah, look at this. Begging to be in a nighttime show. It's been so fun over these 13 years to watch them learn how to use this show, right? Because it's a completely new thing they created. No one had ever done it. It's been so fun to watch Disney, Imagineers, and the techs and everybody learn how to use all of this. And it just, even if the shows necessarily aren't better, the tech keeps getting better, and they keep doing more creative, interesting things with the World of Color system. You could see this is another one of those things they learned, right? They learned about naturally what the water looks like. So the edges of the projection for this Mulan sequence are kind of smoky. And you'll see like these bursts of smoke that erase, like wipe a scene away and bring another one in. Perfectly works with water. The water doesn't have hard edges either. And so it's hard as a guest to tell like where the projection and the water begin and end. And if they're perfectly synced or not, it's beautiful. Makes everything look very free-form and not. You lose sight of the fact for a moment that there are 3 large water projection screens, and the basic shape of the show vanishes before your eyes for a little bit. And all of that, the explosion going across the platform. Look at that. Like I've said to people, this show has its moments. It has moments where it's very visually interesting. It's incoherent, don't get me wrong. It's totally incoherent. But at the very least, the programmers did a really good job throwing the sequences together. And now, this being a nighttime show, we are legally required to include Moana. So here's our Moana segment. This story beat, very much, this is something they like now. This is their story beat they love, right? We've seen this emotional transition, like Moana's defeated and eventually has to, battle Taka. We've seen this in Enchantment. We saw it in Believe, Sea of Dreams. We now see it again here, and there's even a bit of it in Wondrous Journeys, which is a show that debuted on the same day across the Esplanade. So a little overdone. I know guests love Moana. I get it. It's a great movie. I understand. But the same way we have to control our use of Frozen, I think we have to limit our Moana usage. That being said, if it's going to be in a show, right, the show that uses water is probably the place for Moana over the fireworks show, right? This looks right because it's a water sequence with blue lighting, and of course it looks good. So yeah, here we go into our battle, our quote unquote battle sequence with Taka, which I mean, again, you have a fire system in there. It's a sensible villain to use. Makes sense. No one's ever going to dislike a fire scene in World of Color. They're always good. When is fire not impressive? I don't know if we're going to get the big fire. I don't know if they had it on the first night, the giant. There is one fire effect in the very middle of the platform that makes it essentially sort of a mushroom cloud. It's so powerful. Oh, it tried. It went a little bit. So that'll usually be much taller and bigger and impressive. And what's super cool, and you're seeing a little bit of it here, if you look at the smoke above, as we go into this Avenger sequence, you saw that they were lighting the fountain in a circle below it. And so it looks like one of those Doctor Strange portals for a moment as they light that smoke ring, which is brilliant. Positively brilliant. Again, incoherent though, right? Like we have the big heroic moment, but do Marvel and Star Wars work in this show? They work as their own sequences, but they feel out of place. This would be great as its own little thing that just happened at random points of the night. As a moment in this show, it leads to the incoherence. And again, sort of these animated depictions of the Marvel heroes, not the movie versions, no clips from the film actually used. The use of the spots in this sequence is very, very good. Yeah, I don't know, like the Thor into the finale. It doesn't do anything for this. I feel like we've seen so many things that could have been better finales for this show already, that this part just doesn't do anything for me. This is where we try to tie the whole thing together, and there's nothing particularly more powerful than the rest of the show here to make this feel like the finale. Which is why they had to change the ending, and this video has the old version of the ending that got reworked a little bit, but it's a fine song, it's just not super memorable. Yeah, the song is just it's too on the nose. And don't get me wrong, that's been a thing throughout the history of Disney entertainment, but it's too on the nose. I like this rippling wave effect on the Incredicoaster lights. Works really well. Again, I think it's got to be, as the people that produce these World of Color shows and the techs and everybody works on it, it's got to be the most fun system to work with. Seems like there's so many possibilities. There's so many different things you can do. Like if you were you create a nighttime show, which one do you want to work on? I wouldn't even have to think about it for a second. This is the This is the format I'd want to work with. Yeah, that forced narrator, you have the power to make a difference, just takes one, and I don't know. There goes the flame. It worked that time. It sort of misfired the first time. But my favorite moment though it actually has to be when they light that smoke ring. That was just so thoughtful. So yeah, there was this weird transition into like a little Walt moment here that confused people. People didn't know the show was over. And there's a what they call a walk-off here, which is a long-standing World of Color tradition with a lot of nighttime shows, right? Illuminations, Reflections of Earth. You had Promise that would play as you leave, and the torches are on. And original World of Color, you have the theme. And I like this. I like this. I like to see the show slowly fade away. I hate when the parades or shows just sort of abruptly cut. Magic Happens does it. It doesn't have like a fade out and a big ending piece musically. It just fades away, and it has this abrupt fade away. And this like slow fade away that acts as sort of the kiss goodnight I think it should be a thing in every Disney nighttime show. I'd always like to stand and watch this. I never, you'll see people start leaving. But I'll usually hang around till this is over. But it's a little more, you see the walk-off for this one's a little more somber, right? Even the colors are a little more muted. I like the regular World of Color walk-off is kind of, becomes a little bit like party music, and it's all very vibrant and rainbow, and I like that party atmosphere. This is I know there's a message to this show, but it's a little too somber. This is a little too somber. Like, this isn't Illuminations, guys. You didn't teach us about, the story of planet Earth. And it's hard to with IP, right? And I think that's the thing they're learning is they keep trying to do shows with this, what would be almost like a Reflections of Earth type message where you're trying to inspire people. I think it's very hard to do that given with just a bunch of characters in a clip show format, right? I think it's hard to have that sincerity given the content. Illuminations, I think you took it very seriously, and then Promise is a beautiful song, and there's these torches lit all around this gorgeous lagoon. It's World of Colors. I think it's kind of got to be like a party. I think it's more what it is. Yeah, again, if you're down by the water, you get to enjoy more of this too. There are fountains. There are lots of fountains going and things happening. Not super easy to see from this angle. There's also, they're not working right now, but there are fountains in the planters, which I think is such a fun effect. It catches people off guard. And so just in the middle of the planters in the viewing section, water will just shoot up in front of you, and it's always fun to watch people respond to that and react. There we go. Now this is what we want. This is the color. I mean, again, the song's still very somber, but we've got our rainbow. Oh, back to the somber though. We couldn't have it for long. Got to go right back to it. So, final thoughts on World of Color 1. It's not the worst version of the show that they've done. It's not my favorite. I still like the original and several different versions of the original. Again, they have him come over to sort of remind you of the theme of the show. It doesn't work. If it's going to be a clip show, just go for it. Just do a clip show. Don't try to give me a message. I didn't need the message. But it's not the worst show. There are moments that I think make it worth a viewing. I think they tried very hard to make the most of what they had, and they did a pretty good job. It's enjoyable. I don't want it to stay forever. I'd like either of them to do a brand new version of the old World of Color show, keeping that theme, or just sort of do some new sequences, or just even bring back the old one. It's timeless. It works really well. But it's solid. It's certainly better than World of Color Celebrate. It's definitely better than the first World of Color Christmas show was. I forget what the name of that was. It was Seasonal Lights, the new one, the one that was super Frozen heavy. Yeah, and I think definitely better than the Halloween Villainous. That one wasn't well received either, but it deserves to exist. It's nice. It's a nice break from the old show, hopefully for maybe just a year during this 100-year celebration. So those are my thoughts on World of Color 1. Let us know in the comments how you feel about it. But I think next up we have what has been the runaway hit of the celebration, and maybe in some cases the only reason why the celebration deserves to exist. I think people are pretty mixed feelings on decor and food and beverage and everything else that's part of this 100 Years of Wonder at Disneyland Resort. But everybody seems to really love Wondrous Journeys, which is the new nighttime show, the new fireworks show. At the weekend, at least, it's a fireworks show. And then during the week, typically a projection-only show, which celebrates 100 years of Disney animation. And it is boasted to feature every single Disney animated feature film ever made. So let's take a look at Wondrous Journeys. Again, the audio won't come through for you, but if you want to watch it separately and sync up the audio, you can. There's a cameo from Rob Whiteside from Park Center and Deep in the Plus and many of our other programs. And again, there's no message here. The show is a celebration of 100 years of Disney feature animation. Not that Disney feature animation is at 100 years. The first feature animated film was Snow White in the 30s, but nonetheless, we're celebrating 100 years of the company. Here come the butterflies, which are a reoccurring thing in the theme. They're in the song. And this strikes the right emotional chord, right? It is a celebration of this company that started, all these things start as something small and blossom into the story of the Disney company. It was one man's dream, and it blossomed into the biggest entertainment company in the world that has touched the lives of millions and millions and millions of people. And that's why I think that's why it hits a chord with people. And we start in black and white. We start with the older animation, and it hits that nostalgia. It has charm to it because it's this humble beginning. And enough cannot be said. I think this is the best projections that have been done for a nighttime show in any theme park on Earth to date. Clearly so much effort went into the projections. They are a show on their own. So if you see the projection-only version, I don't think it would be a waste of your time. They did it's really compelling. And again, this song, it's Wondrous. I think it's very catchy. It's not the finest piece of music ever made, but it's catchy and fun and memorable. It does the trick. And this is great. The characters starting as pencil sketches and they burst into the full color version. And we've got this Fantasia nod with the silhouettes of the orchestra, celebrating the music of the films, which, in my estimation, may be the most important part of Disney animated films. And obviously the most important part of nighttime shows, the music. Can't have a nighttime show without music. Also, When You Wish Upon a Star gets so neglected in modern shows that it's nice to have a little bit of it in here. That was the staple of every Disney fireworks show of my life, was When You Wish Upon a Star. And then I think they were like, oh, we're overdoing it, let's cut back. And they just stopped including it in shows for a while. I don't think it matters what generation of Disney fan you are. I think When You Wish Upon a Star, Mickey Mouse Club, those songs are always going to strike a chord. pun intended. This is great. The blue fairy flying over, and I love this starburst, which is very much like what we see in the Pinocchio film. And we see dreams coming true for many Disney characters in the projections. What was intended to be a Mickey Mouse burst of fireworks just happened. Some nights it works, some nights it doesn't. And then here is the, without a doubt, the show-stealing sequence of Wondrous Journeys. This mashup of Beauty and the Beast and Hercules and all these I Want Something More songs. There must be more to this life. Out there. I Can Go the Distance. I think I even just said in the video, because this was my first time seeing it. I usually don't make noise or say anything when we record these videos, but I was so captured by this moment musically. Even Moana, it's all these songs of what the protagonist is yearning for. Musically, this could have gone very wrong. This could have turned into a cacophonous thing that didn't work. They pulled it out. And of course, Out There should be in every fireworks show ever made. It's phenomenal in Happily Ever After. It's great in Disney Dreams. I think Disney Dreams was the first one that did it in Paris, which thank God that's coming back. Can't wait to see that again. In modern fireworks history, Out There has really been a show stealer. And so it needs to be said, Wondrous Journeys does steal some story beats from Happily Ever After. I don't think that's a bad thing. It differentiates itself enough. And if you've created a formula that works, you don't always have to reinvent the wheel completely. And I think that was, as I said that, I realized like Disney Enchantment and Magic Kingdom tried to just emulate the story beats from Happily and did it in all the worst ways. Wondrous Journeys is the opposite. It does it in all the right ways. And I think a big part of that is the music. I think there are moments where the music in Enchantment feels cheap. And it almost feels like there's a whole sequence in Enchantment where I'm like, it almost sounds like somebody didn't have the rights to Disney music and tried to emulate it. It's like you guys own the music. You don't have to use this weird, bad, reorchestrated version. This is a great moment too with Princess and the Frog, where the whole Main Street turned into a New Orleans street for a minute with the balconies and everything. Very cute. And another thing that really works about this is these brief moments where every single Disney animated film appears, right? Because as much as there are Disney animated films people try to forget, there are people out there that love those, right? So there's a Treasure Planet moment coming up where there are people in the crowd that were super excited. I was like, I didn't even realize people like Treasure Planet. But by thoughtfully including all of them, you have a moment that really feels personal with everybody, especially if it's a movie someone someone in the park or you at home feels never gets represented. To finally see that in a Disney park, it's a powerful thing. And it feels personal, right? Because you sometimes feel like maybe you're the only person that likes that movie. So a little bit, there's a moment of Strange World here where that's going to feel like that for some people. Treasure Planet, Atlantis, a lot of those. Home on the Range. And of course, we got to have Frozen. I understand. I mean, one of the biggest animated films of all time. I will say this, another one of those songs I think should be in every nighttime show ever, though, is Into the Unknown. It just feels like it was made, the same way that Lion King music felt like it's made for a nighttime show, and Out There feels like it, so does Into the Unknown. Here's your Here's your treasure planet. Look at this. You hear someone, if you're watching the video with audio, someone just yelled, "No way," and "Oh my God." Yep. This was an interesting choice to be like, well, we're going to do a Flying Baymax, and can we do a hero segment to Immortals, which I don't think there's been Fallout Boy in another nighttime show. So, this, again, another segment that could have gone wrong, but they pulled it off. And the Flying Baymax, we don't have a close-up in this video, but it's an awe-inspiring moment. It's great. It looks so perfect. It looks like him, and the smoke coming out of the boots, and yeah. Mulan, I gotta say, I don't think I ever mentioned this. Mulan is like top 5 or 10 for me. I love that movie so much. And so I love how much representation it's gotten with the new Fantasmic at Disney World and this, in World of Color 1. It's very underrated film. Oh, we got we gotta have our Encanto moment. Using the flamethrowers up on Sleeping Beauty Castle now. Our heroes are in trouble. Things have gone wrong. My only real problem with this show, and it's a great show, they did a tremendous job. The only thing I would have done, I can't believe we didn't get a villain sequence, right? Think about all the great villains in Disney animation, and think about how many great villain songs there are. And that's the only thing I'm a little sad about. But this works, right? Again, this is straight out of Happily, right? Where the castle and the street are destroyed, and now we're going to have this moment where our heroes fight their way back to redemption, and everything turns beautiful and dreamlike, and yeah. But there again, that Moana, distraught Moana sequence, right? That's now in almost every nighttime show. There's nothing insanely new about the pyro. It's all just very well synced. It all makes sense with the segment it's in. It's well done. So we've got this and Encanto makes sense in this case, right? In that movie, they bring the casita back to life, right? And so we're going to bring the street back to life with the Encanto segment. Makes sense. The Casita Castle and the Casita Street look good. But what incredible restraint on behalf of the producers of both of these nighttime shows to not do We Don't Talk About Bruno segments. I'm stunned. I know they have that projection show they do at Small World throughout the year, but I think strong restraint shown to not do those. Again, the butterfly is a strong reoccurring visual in the show. And a perfect transition into the theme song. And all the little sound clips they pick are perfect, right? Like the Ariel saying, "Have you ever seen something so wonderful?" It's just great. It's a great song. I've got goosebumps just sitting here hearing this. And my absolute favorite moment of the show coming up in a few moments. Here it is. Very much out of the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. We have the narrator come in. We've stopped the whole show for this, for Winnie the Pooh to have this very cute little moment. I love it. The Pooh characters may be my favorite in all of the Disney, catalog. So to have that little cute moment with Pooh, and then have this big emotional finale, perfection, absolute perfection. If you don't feel something watching the show, you're not a Disney fan, I think, is all I could say. It's tremendous. I think, without a shadow of a doubt, and this is hard, as a Parks fan, it's hard to say this, because Remember Dreams Come True, which was the 50th anniversary show, should be my favorite Disneyland fireworks show of all time, because it's all just attractions. Right? All the sequences are rides and attractions. You have, Tiki Room and Indiana Jones and Star Tours, everything. Just Mansion, Pirates. That should be my favorite fireworks show I've ever seen at Disneyland. I think Wondrous Journeys is the best fireworks show they've ever done at Disneyland Resort. I'm pretty certain of that. And it hurts because, again, I'm a parks guy. And so I want to Remember Dreams Come True the most, but this show, purely about Disney animation, I think technologically, emotionally, it's perfect. It's perfect. Like I said, I'd like there to be a villain sequence. That not being in it doesn't hurt the show. I just thought it maybe, I would like to see that. It doesn't matter. It's a tremendous, tremendous show. And so you at least have, I assume you'll have more than this year to see Wondrous Journeys. I think it's going to stick around, but we know obviously both of these shows are supposed to be for the 100 Years of Wonder celebration. We don't know when they're going to end. We don't know if they're going to end, but obviously the 100 Years of Wonder is happening this year at Disneyland Resort. So if you want to make sure you don't miss them, I would highly recommend you not miss Wondrous Journeys. I think it's worth taking a trip for. I mean, obviously it's Disneyland. There's lots of other great stuff to do, but it's a tremendous fireworks show. Go see it. Make sure you get a good spot. I like where we stood. I think you want to be just across from the arcade, the Crystal. Be across from there, and I think you've got a great spot for the show. If you enjoyed this honest review, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more of these. We have so many of these I've done to date, and yes, I know they're long. People seem to like it, so we're going to keep doing it. If you want to support this honest review and others, you can join the WDWNT Interglobe Society at patreon.com/WDWNT. For the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.